World Challenge 53. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beijing!
Our first show was really small. It was at the Beijing Sports University, Art of War Fighting Championship 1. But there was no advertising except for on the day of. We held the event inside the training room of the boxing gym. It wasn't even a spectator gym. I remember walked outside, there's like 1,000 people waiting to get in. I looked out the windows and I could see that students had climbed onto the trees, had climbed onto the roofs of the surrounding buildings so that they could see through the windows, so they could see in to the gym and see where the ring was. This was how badly people wanted to see the event. In 1997 is when I came to China for the first time. My parents were here. My goal wasn't to teach jiu-jitsu. I came here just because it was like a business opportunity for me to maybe try to hook something up between, the States and here. Of course, jiu-jitsu was something that I wanted to continue to do. So I looked everywhere for jiu-jitsu academy and couldn't find one. I looked everywhere for a jiu-jitsu instructor, couldn't find one. And I thought, oh man, how am I going to continue to train? What I started to do was I started to teach all my friends. That way I would have training partners. And that's how the academy was born.
我觉得柔术在中国发展的还是很快的，因为在2年前我们还可能很多人，我身边的一些人还不知道柔术是什么。
我们很享受，对，还可以打败男生，很强。
Here in Beijing, what we're trying to do, as you can see, is make it a modern facility. And one of the key components is putting everything in one setting. You notice we got the Muay Thai class in the background. We have a cage, this is for the MMA training, full-size boxing ring, all that. And that's what I want to bring here, true MMA, mixed martial arts. So hopefully as Beijing, as the scene grows, we can make the training higher quality, more convenient, get more people interested in coming and learning many things. Boom, okay, 现在我们可以
Yeah, Andy's definitely a pioneer in the sport, He was the first athlete of Chinese descent to compete in the UFC.
Fighting out of the blue corner, this man is a mixed martial artist, fighting out of Los Angeles, California, Andy Wang!
6 years ago, I got invited to fight in a high-level show called Art of War, which was in Macau. And that was my first experience of fighting, in Asia and China.
The Art of War Fighting Championship is a promotion that my brother and I started.
红方选手是沙西。好的，这一拳呢，应该说是打了个正。
In 2004, it was the first professional mixed martial arts organization in China.
速战速决。
When we first started the promotion, everybody told us, everybody told us, no, it could not be done. You cannot do this. No, nobody will accept it. Even though we were told no, we'd go back and say, hey, well, what about this? No, okay, well, what about this? And so finally, we were able to sort of manipulate into a position where we were allowed to do our first show. Definitely now there's a lot more people learning jiu-jitsu, especially Chinese people, because the whole premise of jiu-jitsu is that you don't need to be strong and you don't need to be powerful and you don't need to be fast. You don't need to have any physical attributes at all. Skill over brute force.
It was an eye-opening experience because I saw how a lot of these Chinese fighters, how they cut weight, how they rehydrated, how they prepared for weigh-ins. And I got to say, it was like, man, this is old thinking. Most people, they rehydrate with fluids, they rehydrate with complex carbohydrates. The Chinese fighters, they're eating fried chicken. All these things were adding up in my head, and I was like, if I don't go over there, and I can speak Mandarin, and I can speak English, and I've trained at all the top gyms. I've trained at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, I trained at Undisputed in San Diego, I trained at all these gyms that produce top-notch fighters. If I don't go over there and do it, if I don't go over there and contribute, if I don't go over there and help, then who's gonna do it, right?
When I first got here 3 years ago, the events were very local, small scale, but now this is the same arena that they built for the 2008 Olympics. So, it looks pretty good. It's a pretty good crowd. This guy right here, he's the TUF, UFC TUF featherweight champion. We went together to Macau where he won the title. He did a really good job.
The most important thing for mixed martial arts promotions here in China now is you got to standardize the sport somehow. Right now, there's promotions popping up all over the country. There's no unified set of rules. There's not even a unified set of business operations.
This isn't about the money. If it was about the money, I would be doing something else. Really, I've loved martial arts for my whole life, and that's why we wanted to do this here in China. I've lived here for so many years. There was never real combat sports going on, and we thought it was a huge opportunity. The government has never given out a professional fighting permit to anybody before. They've never even allowed professional boxing here, and it took us 4 years to get it. Each level of the government had to see, A, that we were really interested in what we were doing. It wasn't just some foreigner showing up here to make a couple bucks and get out. B, we had the fighters and the athletes' best interest at heart. And it's like business in general here. A lot of people come to China thinking they're going to get rich quick. They come in, and within a year, they're out of here, and they're running out of here. We persevered, and I think that people actually wanted us to get this done. The domestic market here is dying for this. They're dying for heroes. They want sports heroes here. When you think about the culture and the history that China has, especially with martial arts, this is it. This is the home of it. This is where it all started. And for them not to have something like this here would be a real shame.
Right now, currently, most of the champions for the UFC, they're from Brazil, from America. There hasn't yet been an Asian champion from this region, from Japan, China, Philippines, Korea. So there's some contenders, there's guys getting up there, but there aren't any champions. If I can get these guys able to contend, fight at equal footing with the Americans, with the Brazilians, with the Japanese, I would be, that's one of my major goals.
有时候比赛也是那样子，可是我感觉像你到他后背的都是夹呢，他拳很重吗？
还可以，有几拳很重，我觉得能扛得住。
Why I like to see the fighters here is because in my career I've made a lot of mistakes, some really public mistakes. I want to be able to help out, especially the local fighters. If they can avoid some of the mistakes I made, then great, That's the good thing about competing, especially at a high level like this, M1.
People love it. We've watched it grow over the last 3 years, and it's going to continue to grow.
It's here to stay. MMA is not going anywhere now. No matter what anybody says or no matter what anybody does, there's going to be a group of Chinese martial artists who are going to be training MMA just because they love to do it, just because they believe it's fun. It's never going to die.
I want China to be on equal footing. I want Chinese fighters to be on equal footing with everybody else. It means a lot to me for all these athletes to compete on the same level, know the same techniques, know the same technology. And when they go compete, then we see who the best is.